The rumors of Sean Marks loving Giannis has been out for years. How real is this? Tell me the truth. What is the percent chance Giannis is on the Brooklyn Nets roster come opening day?
Gets it off in time. And he's got it, baby! Big time Nets win!
The only Net fans you know? The only Nets fans you know? Man. I mean, come on, man. Or are these guys?
Welcome back to the Only Net Fans You Know podcast. I'm Peter. Welcome to episode number 102. I have a very special returning guest. You know him from Nets Daily, from his podcast with Pooch, the Brooklyn Pod. Welcome back to the show, Collin Helwig. What's going on, bro?
How we doing, Pete? Happy to be back. We finally made it. We made it through the year one of the rebuild. Jordy is calling this summer the biggest summer of our lives. So it's got the making of a coming of age film. It sounds like let's do it.
All right, this is off-season preview number 1, pre-lottery. State of the Nets. They went 26-56. They finished towards the bottom 3 in points per game, field goal percentage, rebounding, and opponents' field goal percentage. The Nets will hold the most cap space this offseason, with 12 players becoming free agents. The Nets might have up to $91 million in cap space, according to Sport Track. But most importantly, the draft picks. They have 4 first-rounders and a high second. The Nets will have the 6th best odds in getting first overall. They have a 9% chance to win the lottery and a 37.2% chance to make it into the top 4. Historically, teams that had the 6th slot have landed either 7th or 8th. So where do we go from here? And how much will the NBA lottery determine what happens next with the Nets?
Yeah, it's difficult to say. I think, if you jump up and you get Cooper Flag, I could see the Nets doing and this would have to be the season after, but they got Wembanyama, the San Antonio Spurs, and then all of a sudden Chris Paul was on that team. I bet you any Spurs fans never would have thought that, they'd be signing win now players. So I think if they really get lucky and they get jumped up and they get someone where it's all right, we can build now. And, everyone talks about the new CBA, how it's tough to pay these guys and build out full teams. We've been seeing in the NFL for years with young quarterback QB contracts. If you really want to win a championship, a way you can kind of do it, no one's really done it yet, is where your best player is still on a rookie scale contract and you can spread that money around to beef up the team and, kind of dodge some of the handcuffs that the new CBA puts on you. So, if they find a way to get Cooper Flag, I could definitely see them, speeding up this rebuild. However, we all know the odds are something like that isn't going to happen. So at least in my opinion, the Sean Marks special is taking in bad contracts and getting picks. They're going to have to spend that cap or use up that cap space somewhere. I could see them kicking the can down another year, another 2 years, taking some bad contracts, getting even more picks, still drafting hopefully a stud this year, but, making sure that, 2 years from now, because not ready to contend yet, but maybe 2 years from now, maybe 1 year from now, you got some young talent and that cap space comes back because you ate up some contracts that are now expiring and you got a couple more picks from those trades.
Position doesn't matter, right? This is going to be all about talent. Like you just talked about the center position. If the best player available is a center, we're going to take a center.
Yes. Yeah. I think center's maybe the only one because they have 2 relatively, like Claxton's still relatively young, but you have a decent center rotation right now. Everything else, anything could happen. Cam Johnson could be traded. Keon Johnson, Tyrese Martin, all these guys, Jalen Wilson, they had played very hard this year, and I was impressed with their effort, but it's a coin flip if they're back or not next year, and you really shouldn't let, those guys deter who you're going to pick or where. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Depending where they draft, will that change how they feel about, and this is obviously in your opinion, how they feel about the other draft picks? If I draft 2nd overall compared to 7th overall, will that change? Maybe moving up from 19 to get another player, or can I just chill and I could just see what comes to me?
It's a really good question. I don't know that I have an answer. I think that there will definitely be the Nets are an active trade team. They've made trades at or around the draft almost every other year, the last 10 years, or certainly in the Marks era. So I think they'll look to move. I feel like when those trades come, it's not so much about the guy you pick, but it's the guy you see that you like that is falling or is just kind of close enough. And it's all right, let's pick up the phone and you do that. So it'll be very much where they're kind of freestyling.
Would you be shocked if they wound up taking something like 2 point guards with their first lottery pick and then at 19? Or is it just we're going for all talent? If the same position winds up being available, we're just going to take that.
Yeah, I think they go all talent. I really do. And I think part of the thing about, no front office is perfect. Sometimes you make a pick and it doesn't pan out the way you do. One of the things about the Nets having this bounty of picks is that they're throwing 4 darts at a target. And the Nets have shown to be a good late round or later first round like drafting team. So that works to their advantage. But, maybe there's certainly a world where this is not ideal, but there's certainly a world where, you draft Jolly Okafor and then, but we got Jokic like that's a really extreme example. But you know what I mean? Where it's like, these are opportunities to find a guy. And I think a lot of those back end first round guys are the kind of guys where it's like they have that high upside. Maybe they don't have the highest floor, but a high upside, there's countless NBA stars who've been drafted in that area and have ended up being stars. So I think they're going to use the fact that they have all these opportunities to keep looking. And, if one doesn't pan out, maybe another will.
Does the draft affect the free agency or restricted free agency of one Cam Thomas?
I don't think so. Like I said, I think the Nets are going to try to draft the best player with every pick. And the Nets have so much cap space. I think they're going to be able to get Cam as long as they want him back. And I think they do. And then it's not going to be something but he's also not established himself enough where it's like, we still don't really know if Cam Thomas is this guy who's going to entertain us for the next couple of years, or if he's going to be the building block that, they build the new Nets around. So it is a real bummer, not just the fact that, any injury is a bummer, but it's a bummer in the fact that we kind of thought we were going to get that answer this year and then we didn't. So I don't think the two things are that related. No.
Kevin Smith, the Sport Track, is expecting CT to get around 3 years, $45 million. I think that's a little bit low in my estimation. I can understand it because, let's face it, there's not a lot of cap room in the NBA. Not a lot of money is going to be thrown around. What do you think? Is that a little low?
I think that's a little low. Yeah. We had Mike Scotto on the Brooklyn pod, and he said we were dancing around the 20 number for a little while. And that's kind of what feels right to me. So I think but I do think it'll be a short-term deal though, for those reasons where, he's still kind of in that trial period, unfortunately, because of the injuries. We want to see what else he can do. And the Nets, if it ends up being where, he's not that guy that, they want to build the franchise around, then, you paid him well for the time he was here, but it's time to move off. And then you got that cap space. So somewhere around like 3 years, like 20 mil feels right to me. Not entirely sure. Like I haven't thrown that out with like other free agents who they might acquire. They could really, I think what did you have in there? Like 90 something mil in cap space. These guys are loaded. So, with so much room to move around, there's obviously a lot of different ways you could go, but yeah, 20 mil feels right to me. That's what Claxton got 2 years ago. Kind of a similar thing where like you've seen flashes where it's like, yeah, you could be a very good NBA player, but they've arguably seen more from Claxton when he got that deal than we did from Cam. So, but center market's different than a guard market.
Thinking about CT's, I don't want to say ego, but confidence in his game, I don't think I would be shocked to see, I don't know, maybe about 20 something mil per year, but only 2 years, wanting to kind of get to free agency quicker. If you believe in your game, do you say that third year we'll forget about the guaranteed money, but I'll be able to enter the market and we could see what I'm really worth? Is that crazy?
I'd love to hear his agent's take on that, because the player can be confident and the agent can be like, whoa, let's relax a little bit now. I wouldn't be shocked to see that though. I mean, if he says he can do it, and if Cam Thomas is anything, the dude is goddamn confident. So, and I think that would make sense. Yeah, but we're talking about generational wealth here, as they say. I think you want to see him get paid, even if it is a little bit longer and a little bit less. Get that money.
All right, let's speed things up. Let's get to the exciting part of the podcast that everyone wants to hear about. "Quote unquote Plan A." Giannis just put up 30 points a game, 11 rebounds, 6 assists, shot 60% for the field. We've been hearing this talk for a while. The rumors of Sean Marks loving Giannis has been out for years. How real is this? Tell me the truth. What's going on?
I have no sources, but I don't think it's real. The thing is the sources have said it's real. Like Brian Lewis is the best, and he has said that the interest is very real. And so I don't doubt that, but I think everyone is interested in the best player in the league to a certain degree. And I genuinely think that trading for Giannis Antetokounmpo, a guy who's entering the second half of his career, a guy whose game is dependent on his athleticism, is a mistake. I don't think the timelines match up. I think we saw how good of a coach Jordy Fernandez was, and we got impatient and we wanted to start to win with him. And that's just not, I think we need at least one more year of this. I know that's not the answer everyone wants to hear. I feel like I'm constantly reeling people in who are all excited, and I feel like a jerk because who doesn't want to root for a good team, a team that would be, a top 5 team in the East with Giannis right now. But is being a top 5 team in the East all you want to be, or do you want to have a shot at maybe being what the OKC Thunder are now? I would take the latter, and I think that the front office is smart enough to recognize that. I think that you can always be interested, and it's good to be interested. Part of being a good GM is, if the Bucks call and their GM has food poisoning and said, I want Keon Johnson on a sign and trade for Giannis right now, you got to do it. So I think it's okay to be interested. And I said the same thing when there were reports that the Nets were making Cam Thomas available like earlier in the season. And I think sometimes people read into these things and they don't understand that when you're an NBA GM, you have an open door, open phone policy. So like everyone's available, like you think about what the word available really means. Think about what the word interested really means. There's very different. And here's the other thing. Plan A, anytime someone says plan A, it implies that there's like a plan B and a plan C and a plan F. Like plan A is for me to like win the lottery and like buy like a penthouse, like looking over and marry Sabrina Carpenter and invest in just be the king of the world. But that's probably not gonna happen. So it's just don't read into too many things. Do read into what some of these words really mean in the report, though, because I'm not doubting the report, but the terminology is pretty curious.
He is 31 years old. The timelines don't match up, although for a podcaster, I would love to have him on the team. It would bring a lot of excitement for our shows for sure. But I don't think that's the play. So for all the people listening, there's no way that we get the 8th pick in the lottery and it's going to go to Milwaukee in a Giannis deal, right? You don't think so?
No, come on. I don't think Milwaukee would take that either.
Well, that'd be a bigger deal.
Obviously,
right?
there'd be other things attached to it, but Milwaukee would be laughing, saying like, "Oh, you're going to try to pawn us off your failed tank pick for our best player." Come on.
I would imagine if Giannis is coming, you want a sidekick. That's something that we have to keep in mind that I don't think people are really thinking about. Do you think Giannis would come here alone? No, probably not. Bleacher Report had a mock trade. Clax, Keon Johnson, Clowney, and 6 firsts. I don't think that Milwaukee would touch that on their own. If I'm Milwaukee, I'm starting with the Bridges deal, right? That has to be the starting point.
The Nets got that amount of picks for Bridges. You mean
but you also got like a Bogdanovich. You also got, you know what I mean?
No, I do.
Expiring contracts.
The thing is, the picks are going to be like, I think Milwaukee will do a hard rebuild. So like 6 first. I don't know that I told you I'm against Giannis like from the jump, but 6 is a lot. That's honestly probably what he deserves, but I don't know. I would definitely not want the Nets to do that either, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
If he was 3 years younger, I think that deal would be for the 6th round picks. I think the deal is worth it, but not now.
I agree. Yeah.
So just to add in a little drama, what is the percent chance Giannis is on the Brooklyn Nets roster come opening day?
What's the percent chance they get the number 1 pick?
37.2.
30.
Oh no, I'm sorry, 9%. 9% chance they can get first overall. Yeah, I wish it was 37.2.
I'll tack one more on just for shits and gigs because there has been so much noise about it, but I would say 10%. I think Cooper Flagg is seen as he's that good where you can go out and like be competitive like right now. Maybe not win a championship, but that's also why it's still 10% because Giannis should be looking for win a championship right now. But We all know that. But I think Cooper Flag's probably the only guy where it would make sense, where kind of what I talked about earlier, where he's so good. And, sometimes one of the ways you can win, no one's really done it yet because it's hard to win with a rookie as your best player. But if you can take advantage of that rookie contract to kind of manipulate the cap in the new CBA, I think that would be the only way, So 10% feels right to me. How about you? What would you put it at?
Oh, what I put it at, man? That's a very good question. I
Good
think I
question.
put it at 20%.
Mm-hmm.
20%. I think that's a lie. I'd say about 15%. And I'll say why I think 50%. I think there's a crazy scenario that he could force his way out, and we'd have to give up something like a Luka deal, and that we're not really giving up too much. But Milwaukee's like, oh, we want to send him to the team he wants to go to.
That's a
I
good
don't
point.
think it's
Yeah.
going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen, but that's the only way I could see it really happening.
Yeah.
Look at this. When Katie and Kyrie came to Brooklyn, people forget we had Jared Allen, Spencer Dinwiddie. There was already a team already set. Coming here for Giannis, like, no offense to Keon Johnson, I like Keon Johnson, but it's a different roster. It's
Mhm.
just a totally different roster. Playing next to Drew Timme is not the same as playing next to Jared Allen. That there's no roster set here. There's so many steps that we're just skipping.
Yes.
That the only way that I could see this happening with my 15% chance is the Nets have to have like a no-brainer. Like, of course we do this deal. Like, it's, what? We just match the salaries. It's CJ, and it's only like 3 first rounders or 2 first rounders. Of course. Like, how can we say no to this? That's the only way, really. But
You gotta
it
get
will
on
be
a
fun.
call.
It's fun talking about it, though.
No, you're absolutely right. Giannis Antetokounmpo, we needed you in a way, in a weird way this year, and you were there for us. So I can't say thank you because of what he did to us in 2021, but made some stuff, made the days go by just a little bit faster with the drama.
All right, I got a couple rapid fire questions for you. You
Let's do
ready?
it. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Nets drafting 2.5 players, over or under? Drafting and keeping, I should say.
Yeah, I'll do over. 3 kind of feels right. 4's a lot.
Interesting. Very interesting. I didn't expect that.
They need young players. They need everything. Let's use them.
I could see 3, but I would say under. I'm going to go with 2. The lottery pick is 1, obviously, but I have a feeling we're going to be seeing something with those latter picks. There's other drafts in the future that you may want to build up on. It's depending who falls, obviously, right? If we see a top 10 pick wind up dropping, that might obviously change my opinion. But for right now, I'm going to go with 2.
You reminded me of a point I made another week ago. I'll still stick with 3, but I could very much see them because, the tank it was a little bit botched this year. And true terms of what a tank is, it might make a little sense to kick the can down another year, trade like 1 for maybe another one in like a second or something next year. So I definitely hear what you're saying.
Draft night trades 2.5, over or under?
2 trades are hard to pull off, and however, actually the draft goes on really long. I've been to some of those. They drag on if you are there. Let me tell you. I'll do over just because Nets love trading on draft night. It'll be tough, but this the summer of our lives, as Jordy called it. I expect them to treat it as such, and go balls to the wall one way or another.
And keep in mind, it doesn't have to talk. We don't have to be talking about draft picks here. This could be, a player trade going somewhere else. If you want to trade a Cam Johnson somewhere else for a future draft pick, technically that would still be like a draft night trade. So I would
Yeah.
include that also.
I would love to see them take one of the later picks plus Cam Johnson and try to find your way back up to the lottery. I think that'd be, especially if it's a guy who kind of like meshes well, and it's kind of cool when you can draft 2 guys from the same lottery. I don't know. I just feel like that's kind of like a good vibe, buddy thing, beginning of a duo. So
Who is your favorite draft prospect? Could be any round, any position. It doesn't have to be a Harper or Cooper Flag.
yeah, I've been very high on VJ Edgecombe. I think he's kind of the guy where obviously you want to see the Nets go 1 or 2, but if you look at like what's like something where they're jumping up, but it's not just like the crazy like Cinderella situation. And I like him because he just seems so much like a Jordy Fernandez player. He's an athletic freak. He's fast. He's a very good defender. Jordy loves, bulldog, point of attack ball pressure defenders. I think he makes sense for that. He's really the most athletic player in the draft, in my opinion. And the other thing Jordy loves, shooting the three. You know, he had a slow start to the year, but once he got into Big 12 play, I think he shot 39% from three. Got to the point where Baylor was even, setting screens for him, whether it was he's coming around pulling it himself or he's coming around for a catch and shoot opportunity. So I just really like him. He's younger. He's a freshman, so there's that upside. I've been saying all year, this is we don't know how long the rebuild is going to be, but it makes sense to take younger players because this was the first year of it. So he just kind of checks all those boxes for me. I really like VJ Edgecombe.
I was very big on VJ really early before the season started. Man, what team did he play for in the Olympics? Oh man, I forgot what team, but he was killing it against grown ass men. And when I see something like that, that's usually a very, very good sign come their NBA career if they could put up numbers or at least even just compete on that level.
Yeah.
But I think he's a little short. I wonder if the explosiveness can match that. I've heard he's 6'2" without shoes. Maybe that's tall enough. Maybe it's not. Is he a point guard? He's not a point guard. But I'm interested to see where his career goes for sure. My favorite player is extremely flawed, but for some reason, I just love this guy's games. It's Kasparas Giacochonis. I know I'm gonna get killed for this, but I love his game. I know the turnovers. I get it. I just think you see a complete player of being able to play make for people, hit threes, and he doesn't have to be, Mr. Speed. If he doesn't get the turnovers down, it's going to be a major issue. Who do you think is most likely to be drafted by the Brooklyn Nets on draft night?
That's one where I'm going to go back to Maluach. I think part of answering this question is finding a guy who is going to be in the range, the range they'll likely be picking in, which is most likely 7 to 9, I think. So I kind of see that's where he's going to fall. The Nets, they were way more of a defensive team than offensive team this year. Now, certainly you could say that's just because of the personnel they had whatsoever, but the way Jordy Fernandez talks about effort and energy, it seems like they're going to try to be a defensive team. That's what they're going to build their identity around. And Maluach kind of checks those boxes. He's not a great shooter, but he's a willing shooter. That's something that's also important. Jordy likes to have everyone get the threes up. So I just think all those things kind of come together. He makes sense for the Nets.
All right, Collin. Let's get some plugs in there for you.
Yeah, so I'm Collin Helwig, just on Twitter. 2 L's in Collin, 1 in Helwig. And then check us out, the Brooklyn Pod on Twitter, on Instagram, TikTok, and like and subscribe to us on YouTube. I think we're going to have an episode this week. I got to circle with Pooch. If not, we'll have one the next week. Potentially it'll be after the lottery. So something lottery related coming up soon.
All right, guys, you could find me at NetFriends, on Twitter and YouTube. If you enjoyed the episode, subscribe, leave a like, all that good stuff. Have a good day. Have a good night. And let's get lucky in the lottery. Let's go Nets. We're out.